This is Drew Spence from the Dynamic Universe. I've got a new product coming out. We are talking about another one of my post-work webinars. The event was live, and what we did was go through some examples of post-work. We had some people send some artwork in, and we did a live post-work session, like a clinic really. This is it, the Postwork Prime Solutions Workshop. So it's going to be turned into a product in the DAS store. What we did was we actually created a separate product that went with this course. And that is going to be the big piece where I explain a bunch of things to really do before you begin Postwork. But instead of doing my normal trailer, where I sort of like take a bunch of clips and splice them all together, I think for this particular one, I'm just going to give you like the first 10 minutes of the actual course, and that will suffice as a trailer, and you'll get an idea of what's in store. Drew Spence Dynamic Universe, this is going to be a post-work webinar product for the DAS store coming up. This is a sampler of what's going to be in it. Obviously, you're going to see the actual post-work stuff that goes on. We're not going to include that. This is just the opening spiel that I do for the first half of the clip, but it has some good information in it and some of my viewpoints being expressed. Thank everyone for checking it out and supporting us on Digital Art Live and the DAS store. Drew Spence signing off for now. Be right back in a minute with the live clip. When it comes to speaking on art, I like to use an acronym for ART, meaning achievement requires thoroughness. Achievement requires thoroughness, because art is an achievement. It is something you accomplish, that you create a work or a piece and it achieves an artistic quality, which means it gives some sort of expression or some sort of feeling. The thoroughness part is attention to detail, and it's sometimes the small details that free us from the image itself and allows us to get into it. And sometimes imperfections and flaws, or when the artistic vision isn't pushed to its limit, we tend to see limitations of either the artistic ability or the medium itself. And we begin to see that, and it overtakes the message, and whatever it was that you wanted to present isn't as effective. We go through the idea that post-work is getting to the end of an image, whether it be fully rendered, processed, whatever, and then on top of that, we're going to add flourishes and touches. And of course, things like filters, things like translations, things that simulate paintings, all sorts of artistic flares are sometimes brought in as post-work, and we consider it to be what we add or subtract from it. There's corrective post-work, there's additive post-work, it all adds together. So when we talk about doing post-work, we're really talking about enhancing or removing things that impact the message we were trying to deliver. And that becomes sort of the reasons why we would dive into post-work. I'll give you a first idea. When Paul Bussey and I discuss post-work, and we use the phrase, save a bad render, we're talking about things that slip past your eye and need to be edited. If you have a completely dark scene and you need to adjust the lighting, usually you end up increasing the noise in the image, which is a dead giveaway that something went wrong. We're really talking about adjustments, additions, and edits that kind of go beyond the CGI environment and are difficult to achieve in the native DAS environment without the proper tools or products. So our post-work should be seasoning to taste and not seasoning for flavor. So we're looking at doing things to make our small micro adjustments and edits. I'll also give you a disclaimer that before you begin your post-work, you need to weigh the cost in time and resources. If you spend 3 hours doing a render and you really, you don't want to lose that time because of a mistake, but then you spend an additional 2 hours doing post-work trying to fix some of the flaws you came across, it might have been better in time and resource to just fix the scene and then re-render it. So really, we're not going to say for every image you will ever create, there might not be a reason to edit or dump it. So part of an artistic process is knowing what to keep and what to discard. And whatever it is that you intend to create, usually you find that a top percentage of your material is truly usable and shareable. And it's really only in the very beginning where you feel like everything you create must be shared or must be put out there as part of your portfolio. And you haven't quite developed that discerning eye. So speaking of discerning eyes, let's talk about some of the ideas that lead us to the beginning stages of CGI work. One of the first hurdles is going to be composition. And it's going to be called the phrase, we call it weak composition. And weak composition is when you compose a scene and you're just happy to have a lot of things on scene working and the render engine working. As part of the composition process, we sometimes get a shot where if I bring the camera back any, I pass into a solid object. And that's why the screen turned black when I pull the camera backwards into my shot. What we want to do in this particular case is take control of the composition and not allow the limitations of our environment choose our cropping. It might be that I want to add words around this later. It might be that I just don't like this character being so cut off. It might be when I arrange this on a page, I wish I had more space to play with. In that particular case, we want to take control of the composition. And as part of one of the beginning flaws, weak composition is also not having full control. And that's why we say art is achievement requires thoroughness, where you have a thorough understanding of your tools and techniques, and you can bring them to bear in order to deliver your message. So in this particular case, we're going to create a new camera. Our camera number 7, we're going to call this Need a Wider Shot. And I'm going to create a camera. I'm going to actually copy my active perspective view so that it's going to copy exactly what I'm seeing in the screen. I create a new camera. And as I create it, it pops up in my list, and I have this new camera. Well, I want to switch to it. So I switch to my camera, Need a Wider Shot, and I want to go with the parameters. And what we want to get is when we adjust the focal length, I can pull the camera back and gain more space. Gain more space so that I'm able to get a little bit more of the background. I get my characters isolated. What I also pulled in was a little bit of Lady Yagfu who's laying on the ground. So I will actually also adjust the camera so that we just didn't really want her in the shot. So we're gonna basically do a little bit of more trickery, and I get a nice smaller edit to the shot that removes just enough that you wouldn't know what that was. But I get a nice shot that now has the central action, which is the blades crossing. We could have energy coming off of this, extra special effects, and that covers the ability to control the composition through my camera work. And that's something that would be difficult to fix. I've done it before where you have to add extra background, or then you're doing a page-based special effect by adding an extra piece somewhere on the end of your shot. It could get to be the kind of thing where you're now pushing the boundary of experimentation, trying to fix a problem that you really could have dealt with on the fly.